Good evening. My name is Chris Martin. I'm the host of Feet Forward, brought to you by the Illinois Podiatric Medical Association. For the May segment, this is the fourth episode of Feet Forward, I'm happy to say. We're being picked up by the network, I hear. We're going to be talking about summer foot injuries with Dr. Bella Pandit, who's a podiatrist from Evergreen Park, and Cicero. I believe you have an office in Cicero too, two offices. Dr. Pandit is an associate of the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons. She is the owner of Pandit Foot and Ankle Clinic in Evergreen Park, as I mentioned. She's on staff at a couple hospitals, including McNeil, Loretto, Holy Cross hospitals, and you even do some work at Christ too, a little bit. You've got some friends there?
I've got friends there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For those of you who read Crane Chicago Business, you might have seen the nice feature on Dr. Pandit last year on solo healthcare professionals, which was a nice article. So you got a little love out of that. So this is May 21st, and soon there's going to be more summertime activities, high school kids, college kids, even older people being more active, maybe taking time off during the summer. And they're going to be wearing a lot of different kinds of shoes. More and more we're seeing people with a lot of different kinds of shoes, some of them good, some of them not so good.
Exactly.
So we're going to get to that in a little bit, but first of all, we want to talk about some kinds of foot injuries that you see that are particularly common during the summer months.
Well, most injuries are usually sport-related or shoe gear-related in the summer. People tend to switch from boots or more sturdier shoes to a little bit lighter weight shoes like the flip-flop or a sandal with no accommodation. So some injuries that can occur from that are just overall foot pain, heel pain, sprains because their foot isn't supported in the shoe. Just general things like that. It really has a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm. But aren't there also some more common foot-related problems that you tend to see more during the summer months than winter, like fungus problems, blisters, things like that?
Yes, those are definitely more dermatologic problems. People, basically, they come out of their boots and they see that their nail doesn't look right or their skin doesn't look right, and being kind of cooped up in Chicago weather for as long as we are, all of a sudden we see there's something wrong. And nails are usually one of the biggest things that we notice. Is we start noticing, well, our nail used to be kind of white and healthy and it's starting to turn yellow, maybe flaking a little, getting thicker, painful. That's some of the things that people start noticing.
And when people come in with those kinds of problems, what is the treatment you typically recommend? Are there more conservative things you do first and then move on, or?
Yes, definitely. If you're starting to notice there's some changes in the nails, definitely try to get to a podiatrist if you can. Don't let it go, because a lot of times, more often than not, it is some type of fungal infection which you need either a topical treatment or some oral treatment for, and it's easily cleared up. Now, some people have it a little bit more extended. It's very thick. It's looking yellow to almost brown, things like that. That may need more aggressive treatment, more oral treatments, and possibly a removal to get you started fresh again.
The typical, in some cases with medical conditions, mm-hmm. the treatment is sometimes more painful than the disease itself. Is that the case with these kinds of disorders too?
Yeah, sometimes, but usually not with the nails. You usually get a lot of relief just getting it cleared up and getting that thickness out of it.
Okay, we have our first caller of the night. That's great. Go ahead.
Hi,
What's your question?
Northwest Chicago. I lived in California 17 years, and I walk 6 to 7 miles every other day. And I am smart and wise enough and prudent enough not to put my feet in plastic. Now, what's out there and is being sold for $10 to $17 to $20, plastic shoes. Whatever happened to sandals with the stitched sole? That, rubber, when you're on tar and concrete in the summer, cooks the foot. It cooks the foot. There is logic in this. We don't need some pompous brand name for $170, okay? We don't need a snow job to tell us what's healthy and what's right. Let's get out of the rubber for the foot. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Carl. That is a great question, and we're actually going to cover some of that a little bit later in the program. But
Very good
why don't you
point.
touch on that? The material that shoes are made of is important because it leads to the kind of structure that is provided, right?
Very, very much. Especially in the summer, people tend to look more towards lightweight shoes. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the best type of shoes. Rubber is obviously very common in the flip-flops that are economical. They're all over the place. But yes, just like the caller was saying, they're not very breathable. They get very hot. They can tend to breed things like fungus and athlete's foot because it is so hot. So the caller was very right in that. There's lots of different materials that we should be looking for that are more breathable, that are out there.
Great. Let's just pick up on the earlier thing that we were touching on before the caller called about certain sort of common summertime foot problems. We talked about fungus, but what about blisters and warts? Those are also common in the summertime, aren't they?
Very common. We tend to sweat more in the summer, so blisters are really common. We tend to be in shoes that are a little bit more restrictive around the ankles, around the toes, and our foot tends to swell and get moist, and that's a natural thing. Problem is, if there's a little bit of friction on that area, you're going to start to build these blisters, and they're very painful, and they can become infected if they're not treated properly. Those with diabetes or other health conditions really shouldn't be touching those on their own, and they really should seek medical advice for that. Really common, though.
What about the age-old problem with blisters is, do I pop it or do I just cover it and treat it? Sort of an at-home remedy kind of thing. What's your advice on that?
If it's small and it looks water-filled, it's okay to pop it very cleanly with clean instruments and put a nice sterile bandage on it, and it's okay. But that's for people who don't have any health conditions. If you're not sure if you have a health condition, don't even take the chance. If it's blood-filled, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Go and see your doctor.
So taking the pin out of my mom's sewing kit when I was a kid is not a smart idea.
Probably not,
Probably
no.
not. It's a good thing I'm in this position now. Cracked heels. I was surprised that you mentioned that in the previous conversation about this show, and why that was why that would be so prevalent in the summer. I would think that would be a winter problem with dry skin and whatnot.
It is prevalent in the summer. A lot of it is coming from that winter change where it was building in the winter, and then all of a sudden we are in those sandals and we're beginning to notice those cracking heels. And if you are wearing a sandal or you're wearing a flip-flop that doesn't have accommodation, you're just going to keep walking and walking on those cracks. Those cracks are going to open up and they tend to get moist and they can get infected. So it's a big concern. I see it more in women than men, but men definitely have it. And at that point, if it's cracking or it's looking very painful or it's not comfortable, definitely want to get some remedy for that, like a nice lotion with an acid in it. That'll help clear out some of that.
So there's some at-home treatments that people can try first before they see a podiatrist?
Yes, you can definitely try a lotion-based acid cream that you can buy over the counter. You can try that first. You can wear that with some socks at night, and it helps.
Great. And how does that, could you go over sort of how that actually occurs? How do the feet dry out so quickly in the summer?
Well, a lot of times it's an accumulative effect that, it's going on during the winter, you don't notice it, and then you're in that summertime, you're sweating. People tend to dry and wash their feet a lot more, so you're just kind of sucking out that moisture from the heel. So it just does happen a lot in the summer, and it also may be more noticed in the summer.
Great. Well, the caller touched on some common footwear problems that she sees nowadays that maybe not have been so prevalent years ago. And we do have a very wide variety of shoes that people wear in the summer. And you brought a couple examples of shoes that are both good and bad to give our viewers an idea of the kinds of things that are often recommended and some of the things that we're not going to recommend. And so why don't you just kind of hold up the shoes in order.
Okay.
We can start with the flip-flop, since that's a very common one that you see a lot of, and there are some big problems associated with this, aren't there?
Yes. If you look at the shoe, what is it really made of? It's just rubber, like the caller had said, and some more rubber. You've got this oddly placed thong right in the middle that can dig into your foot. No heel absorption, no shock absorption. This might be even a little thicker than some flip-flops out there. I've seen them thin like paper. So you basically have no protection. It's just like walking barefoot with no stability. One of the things that I see a lot in the office in particular is flip-flop injuries. People